This is episode 1 of the Tree Peakers podcast. This is Eddie speaking, and I want to welcome you all to the very first edition of this. The way I met my first guest, great guy. I was bartending up at a spot here in my town in New Mexico. I happened to be sharing some Bigfoot stories that I had come across, talking to people, shared a story of my own. This gentleman was sitting at my bar, and he happened to overhear what I was talking about, and a few things clicked in his head about some experiences that he's going to now share with me now, that he had while fighting fires in the Gia National Forest. And was it Boise, Idaho?
Yeah, Boise.
So real fast, tell me, let's start with the first story, with the tree knocks.
Yeah.
And the whooping, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead. You guys were flown in?
Yeah,
right?
So we were flown. This back, I want to say 2009. I'm trying to remember the fire right now, but we're an Alpha division, and we had to get flown in, and so I wasn't a shot crew at the time. Then we flew in. We flew in that day. We punched line. So that night we bedded down.
Yes. How far were you flown in? Miles?
Yeah, like
flown in on a helicopter.
Yeah, flown in on a helicopter.
Right.
We're way super.
And dropped in.
Dropped in, yeah.
Right. You and a crew of how many, you think?
There was my crew. We had 20 guys. We had
20 guys. And then there was like different quadrants of guys in different areas.
Yeah.
You guys were all in radio contact with each other, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's nighttime. You guys are bedding down.
Yep.
Tell me how you told me, when I first met you, with that same kind of like enthusiasm and like how shocking it was to you, and what you didn't realize what it was at the time, right?
Yeah, I didn't. So we're getting ready to bed down for the night, and we're all sitting around the fire. We're kind of sitting around a little campfire we had going on, and just kind of looking out into the distance. And then all of a sudden we heard something like, I can't just like
right.
But this was like maybe 10 miles.
Okay.
And because there was a drainage. There was drainage right in front of us.
Yeah.
And so we could hear it. And so we thought like, so there were other hotshot crews out there.
Yes.
And so we heard it, that whoop, like just south of us. Then we heard another one.
Yep.
And
coming from a different area.
Yeah, it came from a different area, coming from the north.
Okay.
Then and we're just like, the fuck is that?
Right.
It was like, at first we didn't pay no attention to it.
Yeah.
Then you heard a knock.
And you guys are miles from civilization.
We're miles.
We're talking hotshot firefighter crew dropped in to fight wildfire.
Yeah.
So you're not on the outskirts of a city.
No.
You guys, there's no city lights. There's nobody out, right?
No, just us.
Okay.
And we're like, we're still bullshitting, still messing around.
Right.
And we're listening to these things. And didn't pay no attention to it.
Right.
And you could hear another one. Then
knocks?
Yeah, you started to just hear like a knock.
Yeah.
And we're like, what the hell's what is that?
Yeah.
We're laughing like, someone's bored, some
one of your guys, one of the crew.
So like somebody's bored.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there, we're still just bullshitting. Then
is that where you start asking people on the radio if it's them doing it, or like doing the whooping and the knocking, or was that not even come up?
No, it hasn't even come up yet.
Okay.
Hasn't even come up yet.
Right.
So we're sitting there. Then finally one of the guys gets on the radio. He's like, "Hey, someone must be bored." Then one of them, on our TAC, someone gets on the radio, it's like, yeah, we're thinking the exact same thing. Then after that, the people start joining in on the knocks. Like, just... Then, I always remember because we started doing our own knock. Like, we're like, how did they do knocks?
Right.
So we got a big old stick.
Yep.
We found a stick, and we just started... One of the guys just started hitting a down tree, started hitting it.
Yeah.
And then...
So when you did that, did it even sound close to what you were hearing?
No, not even close.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't have the same force, the same thud, the same echo.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we're sitting there, we're like kind of messing around. We started whooping back at it.
Now the whooping, you guys are interacting with each other doing the whooping. Right.
Yeah. And you could hear us whooping, and you can hear the other crew doing that.
Yeah. You could tell the difference.
Yeah, you could tell the difference.
Right.
But this thing here in the valley, that was totally separate.
Yeah.
It didn't even sound anything. Then, and I always remember this. This is like always stick in my head.
Yeah.
The roar.
The roar that came after you guys were messing around,
like mocking
and mimicking what you didn't realize or didn't understand what was kind of going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And this, how do you say it? Like a roar, like you talk about scary movies, and you hear that death-defying, bone-chilling, hits deep down in your soul, rattles your bones.
This is what I've always loved about, and why I wanted to. This is the reason I wanted to start this podcast, because the look on your face, and when you first told me this story, and I know you've got a second story, which is another just far out there amazing story, but when you've always told me how the forest went silent. And
man.
Like this roar was like nothing you ever heard. And you tell me how you thought that, like, what it was saying when it roared back, like as if to say, letting you guys know, like, it wasn't a game to that thing, right?
Yeah. What I remember, we were sitting there, then the roar, and it echoed all through the valley.
Something you guys couldn't imitate.
No,
right.
This was loud.
Yeah.
This was loud, and I don't know if it was a male or female, but this, for me, listening to the sound, it sounded like a male.
You've described it to me before, like it sounded like an alpha male.
Like something. It was big.
Right. I know that's what you've always said to me too. Right.
It was big, and it wasn't fucking around.
It wasn't fucking around, and it meant business.
Yeah, and it's just like, hey, you're in my backyard.
Right.
So mind yourself.
Be respectful.
Yep. And I always remember after that, it was, you could hear.
Right.
Like if I were to drop a pin.
Right.
It was so quiet. Like even the wind didn't blow.
So like when this thing roared, the forest went silent.
Yes.
So with the whooping and everything, the forest is still doing what it does. You guys, but
yeah.
Did you not tell me after this roar, somebody got on the thing, and you guys, these 4 different groups or however many groups of firefighters, you guys all were separated by however far each of your groups, but you guys, somebody got on and said, maybe it's a good idea if we all huddle together.
Yep. Yeah.
That's how death-defyingly bone-chilling this roar was.
Yeah. Because I always remember, like, hey, I don't. He's like, I don't mean to sound like a chicken shit, but whatever that was, it's big.
That's how it was described over the radio?
Yeah. And because we're on TAC and no one can hear us out there.
Right.
And so
this is all personalized to you. It's not going back to a headquarters.
Yeah, it's not going
So this is an independent experience only you guys would know about.
Yeah.
Right? It's not being broadcast back to home base or anything.
Because that in order for us to talk to our division leader, we had to use a human repeater.
Yes.
And the human repeater, like, he wasn't up on so he's called a lookout.
Right.
And so he wasn't on his lookout. He walked back down to his crew.
And that's going to come into play on story number 2.
Yeah.
A lookout, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
And so they can't hear us, we can't hear them. But where we're at, you can hear everybody talking perfectly.
Right.
And so we're like, hey man, let's just all huddle together.
For the night.
And we came back around. One of the guys was like, damn, what was that, man? He's like, was that a bear? Oh, and the guy's like, I've never heard a bear like that, man. Because I hit one guy's like, I've hunted a lot of bear.
Yeah.
And
so somebody had experience with hunting bears.
Yeah.
And they're going on to describe that we've never heard a roar like that.
Yeah. He's like,
this was different.
Yeah, he's like, a bear don't sound like that.
Well, you know, one thing that I want to explain, I don't have a lot of time with you tonight. We might have to do story number 2 because of the situation I'm in right this second. I appreciate your time this second. But we will get story number 2 down the road. But what I've always appreciated about your story was when you called me over after you heard me talking about this subject.
Yep.
And you go, hey, I'm really not into this subject, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, but it what I was talking about with an experience that I'll end up sharing later on this very podcast, what happened to me in the Bisti Badlands of New Mexico, it made something click in you to think, holy shit, maybe that's what...
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't watch the shows. No. You don't, you're not like me, like where I've taken the deep dive and I'm all in.
Yeah.
You know, let's leave a little bit of scientific error, and I'm 99.9% sure that these experiences that people are having are dead on real.
Yeah.
We'll leave a 0.1 for some error there. You know what I mean? But some of these stories are some of the most amazing I've ever heard. But this one you're sharing now and the one that you're going to share later are two of the most amazing Sasquatch experiences I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you even opening up like this for me and helping me out like this. But one thing you told me, and you'll remember, but you told me when that thing roared, you had said a little earlier how you described it, but it was like this thing was saying, don't fuck with me. I can rip your fucking head off with my bare hands.
Yeah.
Did you say that to me before?
Yeah.
Right.
That roar
was sending a message.
Was a message. It was like, it was the business end. You know, it was like,
so before, do you think north and south, the whooping, right? The knocking, you think they were letting whatever they are, were they letting each other know that you guys were out there?
Yeah.
Because that had to be different for them, right? You guys are, let's say, what, 5 to 10 miles out?
Yeah.
Right? Getting ready to wake up in the morning and head out to fight wildfire?
Yeah.
That's burning in the Gila National Forest? Or is this in Idaho?
No, this is
New Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay, the Gila, pardon me.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was in New Mexico. This is where we're in home base right now in New Mexico. We won't give the exact location of where we're at. But a lot of amazing stories out of this area coming off the Navajo reservation.
Yeah.
Your stories, like I said, are two of the most jaw-dropping, because the best thing that I can broadcast out to people, the way that I was interpreted by when you called me over and talked to me at the bar after you heard me talking, was you weren't telling me these as Sasquatch experiences.
Yeah.
You were kind of just like, hey, what you were saying kind of makes sense with a few things that happened to me. Mm-hmm. You just said this story's from 2009.
Yeah.
And one thing that dawned on me too is your brother, I guess, was with you that night.
Yeah.
And when you went to the restroom after sharing both those stories with me, your brother goes, hey, you should feel pretty special. That's my brother. I've known him his whole life, and I've never heard him share those stories. Had you talked about those with anybody, or
no.
Did me just kind of talking about what had happened to me and a few other things that I had?
Yeah, because you were talking about tree knocks,
right?
And at night, and I was like, I've heard that,
right?
I've at night, and
So you're over there. We haven't even really talked.
Yeah.
I had just poured you a beer or two.
Yeah.
You and your brother are doing your thing. But that's what kind of sparked this little friendship between you and I. When we see each other now, we talk to each other, and we're cordial and we're buddies now, right? Mm-hmm. And it was all predicated on, like, you didn't come to me as like a Sasquatch enthusiast, but I always thought that it was amazing that me talking about it, like that, like these are two of the realest stories I've ever heard. And it's cold where we are right now, and I want to thank you. We got like 15 minutes of this story, and I don't want to say what I'm actually doing right now because, but I got to get back to it.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, and we'll do story number 2 maybe like next Sunday night or something.
Yeah.
Come in again, and maybe we can do a little something like this again.
Yeah, we could.
I appreciate it very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, bro.